Do you ever feel overwhelmed by the ever-changing world of technology? Tech It Out can help make some sense of it all. Breaking down geek speak into street speak, technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman covers consumer technology each week for every listener. Mark tackles the latest news, reviews, and how-tos to help you understand what's hot, what's not, and why.
Hey everyone, welcome to Tech It Out, episode 313. If you're keeping track, hope you're all doing great now that we're into mid-September. Speaking of which, like every September, it was a huge week in the tech world with Apple unveiling new iPhones and Apple Watches on Tuesday, officially taking the wraps off the iPhone 15 and the Apple Watch Series 9. I was there at Apple's press event at their headquarters in Cupertino, California. So of course, we're going to cover that this hour. If you already own an iPhone, should you upgrade to the iPhone 15? I'll share some reasons why you might consider it and maybe why to take a pass. Before that, we're going to kick off the show about cyberbullying and sextortion, yikes, and what you need to know about that in the event your kids or grandkids find themselves in a jam, or you yourself. We're also going to talk about a new 3D printer and cutter for crafters this hour that lets you make virtually anything you can imagine and sell it online if you like. All of this and more on an all-new Tech It Out powered by ASUS for those in search of incredible. I'll tell you more about ASUS shortly, but let's officially kick off the show with our first interview. Now that students have returned to school, parents and kids should prepare to face more instances of bullying. And with the prevalence of smartphones, instant messaging, and social media, it's much more likely to be cyberbullying and even sextortion, which no doubt can cause trauma with serious consequences for a child's mental health. Joining us to tell us how parents can spot this, what we can do about it, and how cyber insurance may play a role is Mila Araujo. She's the personal cyber insurance practice leader at NFP, a leading global insurance broker. Thanks for your time, Mila. Good to chat with you.
Great to be here, Mark. Thank you so much.
Why don't we start with what are the various online threats kids face today?
Great question. It's pretty frightening. These days, kids are facing a number of threats. Primarily, the online threats that are affecting them are cyberbullying, online stalking, and sextortion.
So let's unpack that. Cyberbullying, as the name suggests, is when you're being bullied in a digital format, so online, not in the schoolyard. And that could be even worse. Can you explain why?
The difference with bullying and cyberbullying is that cyberbullying can get you anywhere. So bullying in itself was a terrible thing that impacted, so many kids and has continued to impact kids everywhere. But at least when they go home, they're in a safe place and they can get away, or they can, have their place where they can have their peace and quiet and just feel loved and secure. Cyberbullying can get a child anywhere. And it's not just something that happens to children. It does extend all the way up, into the teens and into college years and, beyond. These threats are everywhere. So consider emails, text messages, social networks. So where you and I might go onto a social network to relax and look at nice pictures, let's say on Instagram, these kids can be harassed and attacked even on their social networks, blogs, chat rooms, and even online gaming sites. So cyberbullying is impacting kids everywhere. And the worst part is they can't just get away from it unless, of course, they turn everything off. And how often is that really happening?
Yeah, true. So one way cyberbullying is even more frightening, as you called it, than regular bullying is that you can't escape it because it's not where you are physically. Another reason is that people will often say and do things online that they wouldn't do in person, right? They're kind of hiding behind the glass and they may say something that they would never say verbally.
Exactly. Due to our connected nature, these threats exist from all different directions. So it could be someone at the child's school. It could be someone that they know, someone from the neighborhood, but it could also be a bad actor. Anywhere in the world. This is a crime that happens without borders. So that's another element that's quite scary as well. The child may know who it is, but they may not know, and they could be targeted just at random.
And speaking of posting inappropriate photos of you, let's quickly define sextortion and sexting.
So sextortion is something that has been on the rise. In particular, the past year, we've seen increases both in the US and Canada. And it's a really scary thing that's happening to our kids, where a predator could post pictures of the child. They could post pictures that are not really of the child but are fakes. So they can use AI to create some very scary pictures and send them through to the victim and try and extort money or additional information or various different things as a result. Primarily, the victims become very scared and alarmed. And so it becomes a very, very scary situation that escalates very quickly.
Even if it is really them, if you were in a trusted relationship and you shared photos or videos with someone that you trusted at the time, if that relationship goes sour, then people can use those photos against you, which I guess the rule of thumb here is don't do it to begin with. But if it's too late, we'll talk about some of the things you can do to reduce the odds of this impacting you. But obviously that's a no-brainer. Just don't do it, even if you are in a loving, caring relationship, because you never know.
What could happen is someone can hack those accounts.
Right.
This is not something within your child's control. It's not within your control either.
The only thing more disturbing than about a third of kids or tweens and teens reporting cyberbullying and also sextortion related issues is the fact that not everyone reports these, right? Maybe they're too embarrassed. So the numbers are even higher in all likelihood. We are chatting with Mila Araujo. She is the personal cyber insurance practice leader at NFP, a leading global insurance broker. We're talking about cyberbullying and sextortion. I'm going to ask you about cyber insurance in a moment, Mila, but let's talk about what kids and parents can do to fight back.
The number one thing you can do is discuss the risks and become educated as a family together. Empower your kids. Give children a safe opportunity to make this type of topic normal so that if an incident happens, it's not so scary and they already know what to do and how everyone in the family feels about it and how people are going to react. Another thing that you can do is also practice safe behavior online. Discuss not leaving personal devices unattended at school where people can gain access to them. Discuss password best practices, what to do or not to do with photos or etc. Recognize what could be happening with extortion. Look up the resources with them for each of their social networks or gaming communities so that they can see what to do and how to report something if they feel threatened or harassed. And I think that those are some of the best things that you can do beforehand so that when the situation comes up, kids aren't afraid or aren't unclear on what will happen or what kind of support that they can expect from you. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I often say, as awkward as the conversation is, have that discussion with your kids, have that open dialogue about what they're doing online and the risks and threats out there, and assure them that they can come and talk to you. A lot of schools offer support, where you can go to talk about these issues and what to do about it. What about software, Mila? Before we talk about cyber insurance, what about programs like Net Nanny or whatever that can filter out content on a child's device or send reports to mom and dad? Do you recommend those kinds of tools?
It's really difficult to say because each tool will be different and you'd really have to have a good understanding about that. It's always good to speak to a cybersecurity expert to have them recommend what's best for your particular situation, because as kids get older, things get a little bit more complicated. And I think it's always a good approach to try and empower your kids with the information that they need to be safe online and to have safe online behaviors, as opposed to relying on a third-party app that you may not fully understand. Just because there's an app in place doesn't necessarily mean that it's protecting from all things. There's just so much going on and bad actors are constantly evolving, although anything can help, right? Yeah. So, without saying I can't speak specifically for any one particular app, it certainly helps to use the tools available to us.
Yeah, thanks for that. Without further ado, what is personal cyber insurance and how does it play into all of this?
So personal cyber insurance protects you from the risks that you may face online. It's not only restricted to cyberbullying or cyber stalking. It can provide valuable tools and coverage to help you and your family in a variety of situations where you become a victim of a cyber crime. In particular, for cyberbullying or cyber stalking, it can provide coverage for the costs of psychological help, private tutoring if needed, or even changes of the school or relocation if warranted. And it provides access to 24/7 cybersecurity consultations and can provide assistance in gathering evidence or providing safety tips tips and help with best practices if you want to be proactive and make sure you're keeping safe online.
Tell us about Digital Shield. This is a cyber insurance product from NFP.
Exactly. Digital Shield is a personal cyber policy that we've developed at NFP. It provides $100,000 of coverage at a cost of about $16 a month. So we've tried to make this very affordable, and it covers a number of things besides just cyberbullying. Although that's a great feature and an important part of knowing that you have all the resources in place to keep your family safe, it also provides coverage for identity theft services, which also impact kids from a young age and especially into college. It provides coverage for financial loss due to cybercrime, phishing scams, emergency scams, which have increased substantially in the past years, losses that occur due to data compromise, extortion, sextortion, and smart home device related compromises or incidents. So it's a 360 type of coverage for all of your digital risks, including help managing situations with your online accounts should that happen.
All right. And then for those who want to learn more, Mila, is there a website you can recommend?
You can find all the information at nfp.company/personal-cyber.
So that's NFP, like Nancy, Frank, Peter.company/personal-cyber. Mila, it's been great chatting with you. Thank you so much for carving out some time to talk about this very important problem and solution.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
When we return on Tech It Out, my impressions after spending some hands-on time with the new iPhone 15 and new Apple Watches right after the Apple event in California. We'll be right back. Stick with us.
Listen to Tech It Out whenever you want. Find the Tech It Out podcast at iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to Tech It Out. This show is powered by ASUS for those in search of incredible. ASUS creates technology for today and tomorrow's smart life, and that includes its line of award-winning laptops and desktops, accessories like monitors, mice, and keyboards. There's mobile tech like smartphones and tablets, smartwatches, and much more. For those in search of incredible, visit asus.com/US/radio for more info. That's asus.com/US/radio. All right, as promised, it's time to chat about the new iPhones and Apple Watches. Aside from cooler weather and perhaps leaves changing color, there are three things you can count on every fall: pumpkin spice, the start of football season, and of course, new iPhones. And Apple did not buck tradition this year as the world's most valuable company, just shy of $3 trillion, just took the wraps off its new iPhone 15 family and other devices at its press event held at Apple Park's Steve Jobs Theater in Cupertino, California. I was there. The event was called Wonderlust, and we saw 4 new iPhone 15 models and 2 new Apple Watch devices. The Apple Watch Series 9, that's the latest in their flagship series, as well as the Apple Watch Ultra 2. So I thought on the first Tech It Out show following this big news, it would be remiss not to go through all the highlights from my vantage point. What you need to know, if you're an existing iPhone owner now, should you upgrade? Maybe it's time with these new features, or should you pass on this year's model? So I'm going to cover all of that with you right now. I did have hands-on time with all 4 iPhone 15s right after the event, and I did spend time with both new Apple Watches as well. Not enough for a deep dive review. I did not bring it home and test it out in my own environment, but I did spend a considerable amount of time with all these new gadgets right after the event. Before I cover this now, if you want to read an article on my thoughts of the iPhone 15, I wrote a piece for USA Today on 3 reasons to upgrade and 3 reasons why you may not want to. And then for Apple Watch, I wrote a piece for reviewed.com, which is owned by USA Today as well. So you can just do a search with my name and the word iPhone 15 or Apple Watch, and you'll be able to find those articles. I'll spell my name in a moment, but I'm also on social media. If you want to drop by and say hi, I'm on X, formerly Twitter, Threads, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Blue Sky, T2, and TikTok. It's Mark Saltzman, MarkSaltzman. For full transparency, I wrote the book Apple Watch for Dummies, so I'm pretty familiar with this category. Just a heads up. All right, let's get to my impressions of the new announcements. Number one, USB-C is a welcome addition. So as expected, leading up to the event, Apple has officially ditched its proprietary Lightning port in favor of the more universal USB-C connector. So that now allows iPhones and iPads, Macs, and even AirPods and non-Apple devices as well to share the same charger and cable. This was not Apple's decision in all likelihood. You probably know that there were changes made due to new regulations imposed by the European Union that require all consumer electronics companies to adopt a standardized charging port by next fall. So now, while expected, this is important because it streamlines the charging process across all devices and brands. So it does help you save money by not requiring to purchase an additional and exclusive cable like the Lightning cable, which often costs more than USB-C, by the way. And this should also translate to less e-waste, electronic waste in landfills. I'm not going to lie, it was a little weird looking at the bottom of an iPhone 15 and seeing a USB-C port because it has been like 12 years that we've seen the Lightning connector. Chances are you already have USB-C cables lying around the home, so this may be very appealing to you to repurpose those. On the flip side, if you have a ton of Lightning cables, you may not be so willing to upgrade to iPhone 15, right? All right, number two, another thing I really like about the new iPhone 15 family is all four models now have a dynamic island, as it's called, which replaces the notch at the top of the screen. So this is for all four iPhone 15s. Last year, only the Pro models of the iPhone 14 had this feature, but now they all do. So what is dynamic island? It not only frees up a bit more real estate on this screen, but it cleverly shows you information inside this space tied to the app that you have open. So for example, it could count down when your Uber driver is arriving. You can see your flight's gate info at an airport or what song or podcast you're listening to. And then you can tap that dynamic island at the top of the screen to open up a full page for a deeper dive of the information. There are literally hundreds of both Apple-related as well as third-party apps tied to Dynamic Island. So look, it's more evolutionary than revolutionary, but new iPhone users will love Dynamic Island if you have not seen it before. All right, a third reason to upgrade to the Pro models of the iPhone 15, so that's the iPhone 15 Pro, which is 6.1 inches, or the iPhone 15 Pro Max at 6.7 inches, and that's the revamped camera systems that had shutter bugs in the audience on Tuesday, oohing and eyeing. These premium iPhone 15 models have a 48 megapixel main camera with a larger sensor than the regular iPhone 15 and iPhone 15 Plus, so that lets in more light. There's new computational photography wizardry at work here to really enhance your photos and videos, and a 5 times telephoto zoom lens on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. It's 3 times telephoto on the iPhone 15 Pro. What this means is you can take more detailed images from afar or crop a photo and zoom in without losing much of that image fidelity. Yes, this is still trailing behind other phones like the Samsung Galaxy S23 that has 10 times optical zoom, but there's other things going on here. There's also the ability to switch between 3 popular focal lengths now, 24mm, 28, and 35mm. So photographers love these new features. So should you buy an iPhone 15? I'll summarize my thoughts when we return on Tech It Out and also cover what's new with the Apple Watch. I'm your host, Mark Saltzman, breaking down geek speak into street speak. We'll be right back.
Want to follow Mark? Google him. Mark with a C and Saltzman with a Z. Breaking down geek speak into street speak. This is Tech It Out. Tech It Out with technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman.
Welcome back to Tech It Out. Hope you're having a great day so far. If you're just tuning into the program for the first time, whether you're listening on your local talk radio station or you scrubbed forward in the podcast, I've been chatting about the iPhone 15 family that we saw unveiled on Tuesday at Apple's headquarters. It was streamed online by Apple for their Wonderlust event, but I happened to be in the audience of their 90-minute presentation, and then more importantly, had some hands-on time with the new iPhone 15s. And we'll get to the new Apple Watches in a moment. But the big question is, should you upgrade to the iPhone 15? That's been the one question dominating in my inbox and sent to me via direct message as well on social media. Some of the features I don't think are as as big of a deal as other journalists feel, or what Apple is touting as like a huge deal. For example, there's a new titanium design with these iPhone 15 Pro models. So switching from stainless steel to titanium makes it more durable than other materials. Apple says the Mars rover has titanium, just as a comparison, but it also makes these phones a lot lighter. Truthfully, I was surprised to feel how light the new iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max models were, but is it enough to upgrade? Not really. It's one of those like nice to have features rather than a need to have. It's like 9 grams lighter, so it's not like earth shattering here. I also like the replacement of the mute switch on the left side of the iPhone 15 Pro and iPhone 15 Pro Max. So with previous versions of that phone, there's a little switch on the side that will mute your phone if you don't want it to emit any noise, like notifications or calls or anything like that. But now these new devices have a multi-purpose action button. So it's very handy for quickly launching an app. It's just like the action button on the left side of the Apple Watch Ultra smartwatch. So you can quickly, launch the camera, you can turn on the flashlight, you can mute your device if that's what you still want it to do. But it's probably still faster to just summon Siri with your voice. So I don't think that was as big of a deal. So the big question is, should you buy an iPhone 15? Here's my take on that. The iPhone 15 family is the best Apple has ever created, for sure. But the same can be said every year when they launch new devices. And my general rule of thumb with iPhone is that you might not notice a huge difference if you upgrade every year. Because, year after year, they're marginally better than what came before it. So it often pays to wait a few years to really notice a difference compared to what you've got today. So if you have an iPhone 14 or 13 or anything like that, I don't think there's much of a reason to upgrade. But if you're rocking, an iPhone 10 or 11, then yeah, you're going to notice a huge difference on several fronts. All that being said, Apple did impress with its long list of improvements for the iPhone 15 models. And despite rumors leading up to the event, it won't be more expensive than last year's comparable models, which is great for the shopper. If you do upgrade, be sure to take advantage of aggressive trade-in programs from Apple, carriers, or retailers. All right, now let's move on to Apple Watch. In fact, Apple CEO Tim Cook kicked off the 90-minute presentation on Tuesday with Apple Watch right out of the gate, including an extensive video about Apple's goal for carbon neutrality. So we learned that Apple Watch is going to be the company's first carbon neutral product, and that's specifically the new aluminum Apple Watch Series 9 when paired with a new Sport Loop band because of its recycled materials, smaller and plastic-free packaging, and the use of shipping containers by sea to transport devices around the world rather than by air. As for what's new with these smartwatches, let's get to that. So the Apple Watch Series 9, it does look and feel the exact same as previous models. There is a new color, pink aluminum, which I think will be a hit, but it is identical to its predecessors at first glance. The coolest new feature on both new Apple Watches, by the way, is what's called double tap. So this is a new gesture where you can quickly tap your forefinger and your thumb together twice, and it'll answer or hang up a call or snap a photo via a nearby iPhone. You can start or stop music, cycle through widgets, and a lot more. This one-handed option works really well, and it does seem a lot faster and more intuitive than looking for a little button on the small screen to tap, in order to hang up a call, for example. It's also ideal, by the way, from an accessibility standpoint for those perhaps with dexterity challenges. Maybe you have Parkinson's and your hand is shaking and you can't touch your Apple Watch screen so easily. So I really like that double tap gesture. Under the hood of the Apple Watch Series 9 is the new S9 chip. They call it a SIP, System in Package chip. And there's a new neural engine. I hate to geek out, but it basically means faster and smoother performance. You now have on-device Siri requests. So when you talk to your watch to ask for something, instead of having to go up to the cloud, like to Apple's servers over the internet, in order to process your request, many of them can be done now on the device itself. And it also means securely logging your health data to the watch as well. Despite all this new power, Apple says the Apple Watch Series 9 will last up to 18 hours between charges, which is great. And there's some other features like this ultra wideband chip for finding other iPhones and Apple Watches with that same chip. And it's brighter. So if you have trouble reading your existing Apple Watch outdoors, this now has twice the brightness. So it's 2000 nits instead of 1000. Again, not too much of a reason to upgrade in my opinion. And then finally, Apple Watch Ultra 2. This is the second generation of Apple's beefier lighter Apple Watch. It's much bigger, more rugged. It's ideal for outdoor adventurers, if you will. And I also got a chance to play around with it at Apple Park. It also includes that same S9 SIP, that new neural engine, that ultra wideband chip, all those benefits. It's got the double tap navigation where you double tap your forefinger and thumb on the same hand as the Apple Watch to control content. But Apple Watch Ultra 2 gets an even brighter display, up to 3,000 nits. So that means you can read content even in harsh sunlight, says the company. And that's, again, twice as bright as last year's first generation Apple Watch Ultra. By rotating the digital crown on the right side of the watch, the flashlight feature also offers double the brightness compared to last year's model. There's new Apple Watch faces, new bands and colors, just like the other Apple Watch, and more. So apple.com has more. So here's my quick summary. Just like the iPhone 15 family, if you have a recent Apple Watch, there's very little reason to upgrade. But if it's been many years since you've upgraded, then definitely take a look at these new models because they are packed with features and power. Or maybe you don't have an iPhone yet or an Apple Watch yet. These are best in class for sure. Again, if you want to see videos of me playing with the new iPhone 15 and photos and all that with the watch, or read my articles about it all, you can Google my name with the words iPhone 15 or Apple Watch and you'll find it. It's Mark Saltzman, MarkSaltzman. Or if you prefer to reach out on social media, maybe you've got a tech question for me, a recommendation for an upcoming topic or guest, anything like that. I'm on Twitter, now called X, as well as Threads, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, T2, Blue Sky Social, and TikTok. And no, I'm not doing any funny dances or anything like that. So looking forward to connecting with you online. When we return on Tech It Out, as promised, crafters unite. We're going to learn about a new 3D printer and laser cutter in one, designed to help you make products and sell them online if you like, but simplifies ways to unleash your creativity, says the company. So stick with us. More Tech It Out coming right up after this. We'll be right back.
Breaking down geek speak into street speak. Tech It Out, hosted by Mark Saltzman.
Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Tech It Out. Crafters have never had it so good. There are now a new crop of machines for the home, including Glowforge Aura, with a laser that can cut hundreds of different kinds of material: wood, acrylic, leather, cardstock, and even food, to help unleash your creativity and create projects and products to enjoy yourself or to sell. Joining us on the line to tell us all about Aura is Dan Shapiro. He's CEO and co-founder of Glowforge. Hi, Dan. Thanks for your time today. Good to chat with you.
Thank you so much for having me, Mark. I'm excited to be here.
And congrats on the launch of Glowforge Aura. I know it's brand new. Before we get to that product, tell us a bit about the company, Glowforge. You've had these laser cutters in the past.
Thank you, Mark. It has been such an incredible experience connecting with creators over a new way to create. I discovered laser technology when I was designing a board game with my kids and putting it on Kickstarter. And I found this magical technology that actually made stuff really fast. Unlike traditional 3D printing, it takes minutes. And instead of being just like lumpy plastic, like traditional 3D printers, works in all these beautiful materials. So you can make like leather wallets and hardwood walnut lamps and engraved etched stone coasters. And it's much easier to use. You don't have to use 3D design software. You can use you can doodle with a pen and it'll scan it, or you can use your favorite design software from Photoshop to, you can use Microsoft Word or PowerPoint to design for it. It works with just about anything. But there was no great product that normal folks could use. The one I got came from like this random factory in China. It was this industrial tool. So we got together and said, if we could make this something that was easy and delightful to use at home, it would empower a whole host of creators and crafters to make all kinds of new stuff that they never dreamed was possible. So we created the Glowforge Plus and Pro 3D laser printer, which is a desktop model that's big enough to run a business. It starts at $5,000. It's like 12 by 20 inches. And there are literally tens of thousands of companies that have been launched on the back of this, bringing people's ideas to life. But in just a few weeks ago, we launched something at a radically new price point. Glowforge Aura, just under $1,200, works in all the same materials. And it is a beautiful craft laser. It fits on a table that you can put in your home that makes beautiful things at the push of a button.
All right. So because this is radio, perhaps you can explain what it looks like. Is it fair to call it around the size of a computer printer?
You know, if you put an old-fashioned briefcase down on its side, that's what it looks like.
Okay.
Except it's white and orange and translucent. It sort of looks like if the old gumdrop iMacs, if you're old like me, if you remember those, the orange iMacs, it's like that, this beautiful translucent plastic that looks really lovely at home on your
Awesome.
desk.
All right. It is considered a 3D laser printer, but when I hear 3D printers for the home, I think of the ones that melt plastic and it creates a product from sort of the ground up and it makes a 3D object like, I don't know, cufflinks or chess pieces. And maybe you can explain the distinction here with Aura, is that this is a cutter or is it really a 3D printer or both?
It cuts and scores and engraves. So it can create 3D things. It can sculpt the surface with a laser. You can cut pieces and slot them together, but it's fundamentally subtractive instead of additive, which means you put in a piece of plywood or a sheet or a piece of slate or acrylic or a piece of cardboard from a recycled box, and it works to remove the material you don't want to put it together. That's why it's so fast. That's why it's so precise, and that's why you can do things like engraving. So you can actually just like take a picture off your camera and engrave that on the back of your iPad. Like it even works on metal. You put in your iPad, you drag and drop the picture into place, you hit engrave, and boom, you've just personalized this product right there in front of you.
If I may, it sounds similar to, I've seen and used some of the Cricut machines. Is this similar in that respect?
So imagine if your Cricut could make furniture. Imagine if your Cricut could engrave metal and stone. Imagine if your Cricut could make things out of real plywood and acrylic and thick natural leather. It is the same idea of a digital cutting machine, but it adds engraving. So now you can work with pictures and logos and like every picture on the internet because you can use those pictures, not just cutting. And it works with thick materials and it works with so many more types of material that you're no longer stuck with just the paper and stickers and cardboard and the like. You have this realm of beautiful materials. It also is different because it doesn't ever touch the material. So there's no sticky mats. There's no knives that get dull. There's nothing dragged around. There's no you have to pick every piece of paper off. For those of you who've used a Cricut, you have to pick every piece of paper off the sticky backing when you're done. You finish the print. You just lift it and all the scrap falls away. And your piece is done and it's beautiful.
So it's a laser that does the cutting and engraving and all that.
Yeah, it's actually a beam of blue light, beautiful blue light. It's actually you can't really see it, but we have labs and stuff, so I've got to see it with safety glasses on. It is the width of a human hair focused down that does the cutting and engraving to produce this. And that sounds very technical and clinical, but the experience is just magical. You go in and you click a design you want and you hit print. Or you take a photo and you drag and drop it in and you drag it into place. You could do it on your phone with your fingertip. You could do it on your tablet or your PC or your Mac or whatever. You drag it into place and you put the material in and you can see it because there's a camera in there. Drag it into place, you hit print. Most of our customers are up and running in under 30 minutes. It's easier to set up than like a internet connected TV. And it's so quick to go from idea to creation. There's even an AI art tool. So you can describe what you want and it will create the artwork for you. Click print and off you go.
I'm going to ask you more about that in a moment. Is that what's called Magic Canvas?
That is Magic Canvas.
Okay, so we'll just put a pin in that for now.
Yes.
More about the Glowforge Aura when we return on Tech It Out.
Follow Mark Saltzman on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Listen to Tech It Out whenever you want.
We are talking with Dan Shapiro. He is CEO and co-founder of Glowforge. They're the folks behind the new Glowforge Aura. This is an at-home 3D laser printer and cutter. I understand, Dan, that there are some users that have even quit their day job to create and sell items online.
It is spectacular what happens when you're empowered with a means to create things. I mean, this is how I got this company started, was I learned to build stuff, and I get to build stuff for other people who are excited about it. And now I get to help other people launch their creative dreams. And that might be in the craft room with the Glowforge Aura craft laser. That might be going to business scale with a Glowforge Plus and Pro, which are like 10 times faster and can print things twice as big. Mm-hmm. But that idea that you can come up with a notion and then you can bring it into physical life, and it's as easy as a doodle or typing out what you imagine or clicking and drawing in your favorite art tool, but then that becomes a physical object. Like, that's what this is about. People, I believe in my heart, people are creators. Like, humans are tool users, and it's not fair that we're expected to get all our stuff from halfway around the world in factories and shipped on container ships and delivered to retail stores where we have to go drive and buy them. We should be able to create things for ourselves. We should be able to build the things we care about.
If it's easy enough.
Mark, I have a challenge for your listeners. I have a challenge. Here it is. Go to glowforge.com. Look at that 2-minute video at the top, and it will show you exactly what it takes. The massive technology knowledge and deep technical know-how, none of that you need. Look at it and then just ask yourself, could I do that? And I will bet you every single one of your listeners says, you know what? Yeah, I could do that.
Tell us more about the app and maybe desktop software, including Magic Canvas, how that can help you create something new.
Yeah, it's all web software like Gmail or any sort of web application that you use. So it's really easy and it works across all your tools. Like, I'll sit down and I'll do something on my desktop, and then I'll get up to go print, and I've got my printer on the other side of the room, and I'll realize I forgot something. I'll open up my phone and I'll make the tweak on my phone, and my daughter upstairs will be working on her Chromebook from school, and she'll go and send a print to it. So it works from any web software. And it's incredibly simple because you open it up and it shows you a picture of your material in the machine ready to go. You put your material in and it shows it to you. Then you can draw with tools. You can go and drag and drop a file. You can open up any tools. I mean, you mentioned Cricut. You can use Cricut software. You can use Adobe software. You can use PowerPoint and create something in PowerPoint. You just drag and drop that file in, and it shows you that file on top of your material. You use your finger or your mouse and drag it to where you want it. You hit print, and then, Mark, the thing's got only one button. You can't mess it up. When the button lights up, you push it. That's it.
As we wrap up, Dan, you mentioned it's under $1,200. Where can we get it?
You can go into Joann or Michael's, where they have them right there ready for you to carry. And you can also pick it up on Amazon or on our website, glowforge.com.
All right, so either brick and mortar or online. And to learn more, you can go to glowforge.com and see a gallery or that video, as you mentioned, to get inspired.
Absolutely, Mark. And thanks so much for having me. It is my great joy to talk about helping people create things.
I can tell. Thank you so much, Dan. Congrats on the launch of Glowforge Aura.
Thanks, Mark.
Tech It Out is powered by ASUS for those in search of incredible. ASUS creates technology for today and tomorrow's smart life. And that includes its line of award-winning laptops like the ZenBook I'm recording this radio show and podcast on right now. In fact, I've had the same one for 6 years and works just as good today as it did the day I got it. Head over to asus.com/US/radio for more info. That's asus.com/US/radio. Speaking of computers and mobile devices too, don't forget to properly back up your important files on a regular basis. Sure, you can leverage the cloud, but if you're talking more than a couple of gigabytes, you're going to have to pay for that as a monthly subscription. I prefer offline storage, local storage, including external drives from SanDisk and Western Digital. Solid state drives offer faster speeds, more durability, and they're super light and small. External hard drives are better for digital pack rats like yours truly, where you can store like terabytes and terabytes of data over the long term. Love it. There's always sales on both Western Digital and SanDisk drives, like the My Passport drives by WD. And one more shout out as we wrap up Tech It Out. We cover cybersecurity a lot on this program, like we did off the top when we talked about cyberbullying and sextortion. And one part of the solution is securely shopping online. And so I'm thrilled about my partnership with Visa on Tech It Out. They've made some significant investments in fraud prevention over the past 5 years, as much as $10 billion to fight against fraud and to support Visa's brand promise to protect the financial information of both the shoppers and the businesses. Zero liability means peace of mind when you shop online using your Visa card. There could be no half measures when it comes to cybersecurity. Read more about Visa and how securing the world's payments is priority one at visa.com/security. Hey, have a great rest of your day, everyone. A healthy week ahead, and I look forward to catching up with you next weekend for another episode of Tech It Out. Bye-bye for now.